Okay.
And will
So
we be starting doing questions soon, or in this class at least?
I guess we would be able to do some questions in next class, or maybe after next class.
Okay.
Because right now we are doing the chapters, the topics in detail. So it would be better that if we do the things in detail and then touch the questions.
Okay.
All right. So this is lesson number three. And in the previous two lessons, we've been talking about the cells and their functions. And then in the end of the previous lesson, we discussed one of the most important thing, and that was the cells don't often work when they are generalized. The cells have to change themselves to perform function. The cells have to bring changes into them to completely perform or perfectly perform their tasks. So that particular way in which the cell change themselves is called as a differentiation. And I told you the differentiation is a phenomena of changing of shape, size, number of organelles, and genetic information or genetic data. So
Okay.
these are some information that would be brought into the cells to make them to convert them from general to specific. This is overall discussion we were having, and then I showed you from the book many cells which are generalized, many in plants and many in animals, which are specialized. And then we were about to discuss the root hair cells. The root hair cells are nothing unique, but some special cells which are having an extension. We often see We often see that a plant cell may look like this. A plant cell may look like this, but remember that this cell, if this cell is alone, now you need to listen very carefully. If this particular cell is alone, then it can absorb the things from all the sides. It can um, push the things outside, or it can pull the things inside from all sides. But when the cells arrange themselves into a body, not all sides of the cell are free. Suppose this is a root hair cell. This is a root hair cell. And this root hair cell, if you closely observe the root under the microscope, you will come to know that this particular root hair cell is being surrounded by three sides. On the upper side of this root hair cell, there is this cell. On the lower side of this root hair cell, there is this cell. And on the back side of this root hair cell, there are these cells, which means that all these cells are basically blocking the path of the substances to absorb into the root hair cell. And you must know that the function of the root hair cell is to absorb the things, is to absorb the things from soil, or in other words, external environment. External environment. Meaning that they are supposed to be absorbing multiple things from external environment. Suppose that if this cell, this particular cell that I made, this one, it's been surrounded by other cells from the adjacent cells like this. It means that if there are adjacent cells, then you must be understanding that the way to absorb many particles or elements or chemicals is blocked. How? You cannot absorb from this side. You cannot absorb from this side, and you cannot absorb from this side. If you are supposed to be absorbing only from the external environment, if you are supposed to be taking up the elements or molecules only from the external environment, then the only side available to the external environment is the front side. You got it?
Yeah.
Which means the total area for absorption, the total area for absorption has been compromised, or you can say has been shortened, has been shortened. And this particular thing is now supposed to be addressed. How is it addressed? This cell would extend, would create an extension which is basically called as a root here. Now, what are the basic changes over here? Number one, it creates an extension of cell membrane, extension of cell membrane, which would help it absorb many things. Number two, number two is it would help the cell, that extension is very thin. Extension is very thin to reduce the distance, to reduce the distance to be traveled. The distance to be traveled for the molecules. Like this is the soil. If any molecule has to travel from the soil into the cell, then the distance between the cytoplasm and the soil is least. So, number three, it helps in increasing the surface area. Now, the detail of the surface area is going to be discussed in the chapter, in the upcoming chapter. But overall, surface area is basically the area available for absorption. So, instead of instead of only one side available for absorption, we extend, the plants extend their cell membrane into the soil to maximize the absorption. And then you must know another thing, that they contain a lot of mitochondria, a lot of mitochondria. And these a lot of mitochondria would help in active transport, which you might know.
Yeah.
Got it?
Yeah.
So this was only about the root hair cell. Number one, extended cell membrane. Number two, thin, very thin cell membrane and cell wall. Very thin cell membrane and cell wall to reduce the distance. Higher surface area containing a lot of mitochondria. These are the changes that are often, these are the changes that are often brought into the root hair cell. See, initially it was a general cell. Initially, it was a complete general cell, which eventually changed into a specific cell. It eventually changed into a specific cell so that it can perform its function. Just imagine, just imagine, just imagine that this difference, the difference in the blue shaded cell and the root hair cell. If the root hair cell was not in this shape, what limitations would have been there for the root hair cell? If the root hair cell was just like the one in the blue, what limitations do you suggest would have been there?
Like for example, because that part that it's lacking, the blue part, it
Mhm.
like it increases the surface area. So the higher the surface area, the more areas where you can take in minerals and water from the soil.
Hmm. So, like, which cell is more advantageous, root hair cell or the cell next to it?
And the root hair cell, not the blue one.
Mhm. So you can see very clear changes, and this is the difference between a general and a specific cell. So root hair cell is very specific in its function. The next cell that is very important in the plants is the xylem vessel. Now, do you know anything about the xylem?
No.
Okay, xylem is a part of plant essential for water conduction, essential for water conduction in plants, right from roots to leaves and every other parts. So it is just like a duct, and it suppose that if this is the stem, if this is the stem, then the xylem is arranged like this, and then this, like this. So there are roots and leaves, and the water would just move anti-gravity against gravity to enter into the leaf. Now the problem is the xylem looks like a duct, and the duct and the every duct is always hollow. It's always hollow. It's always empty from inside. Like if you imagine, if you want to pass the water through a pipe, what would you prefer? Should that pipe be hollow from inside or filled from inside?
Hollow.
Obviously. Another thing that like the xylem vessel, the xylem duct has a very strange thing. It is made of cells. If it is made of cells, then how could the xylem be hollow? Suppose that this is one cell, this is another cell, this is another cell. These are three cells that are present, that are arranging above each other to become the xylem vessel. They are arranging above each other to become the xylem vessel. So if they are arranging above each other to become the xylem vessel, then it means there must be something that makes them hollow. Otherwise, what is supposed to be present inside the cell? Cytoplasm, nucleus, other organelles, all these things are supposed to be present inside, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how the cell can be hollow if they are making up the xylem by placing above each other, and how could they be hollow? Suppose this is the duct. Suppose I say this is xylem vessel. The real question is that okay, we are accepting that these are xylem cells, and combinedly they are making the xylem vessels, they are making the xylem vessel. But the real question is, if these are xylem cells and this particular whole bunch of cell is the xylem vessel, then how is it possible that it could be hollow? Do you have any possibility in your mind that the xylem cells could be hollow from inside?
So maybe it's made like the structure is made with cells, but inside it's hollow. Like around it there's cells, but inside it's hollow.
Hmm. You are basically trying to say that suppose there is there is a cell. Suppose this is the inside of the xylem cell, but in the middle of this circle there is a way of passing the water.
Yeah, like for
Is
example,
that it?
if a pipe is made of plastic, but instead of the
Hmm.
plastic, it's cells.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
That's a very good sense. But let me tell you, number one important thing is that the xylem cell's adaptations or the xylem cell's structural change. Number one, they are dead. No cytoplasm, no nucleus, nothing, no organelle. It is not like they were initially like this. Remember that any immature xylem cell would have the cytoplasm. It would have cytoplasm. Any immature xylem cell. But since it is getting specified now, they are dead. There would be
yeah,
no cytoplasm inside, no nucleus. So it means they are hollow now.
I
Now they
think
are
so.
hollow. Hmm.
Yeah.
But one more thing, that if they are hollow, then isn't there a very big chance of water leakage? Like if the cell enters, I'm sorry, if the water enters into the cell, no cell membrane, no nucleus, no cytoplasm, only cell wall is there, only cell wall is present. Then if the water would enter, wouldn't it be immediately leaking from the cell? Yes, it would be immediately leaking from the cell. But now what do? We lignify the cell wall. Lignify the cell wall. What does it mean? What is the normal material with which the cell wall is made?
Cellulose.
Along with cellulose, we add another waterproof molecule in cell wall, and that waterproof molecule is typically called as lignin. These cell walls are supposed to be called as lignified cell walls. Now, once the water would enter, it would never have any point to leak. This would be a very thick cell wall. And you must know that lignin is also one of the strongest material ever found in the living things, and it cannot be easily broken. Number three thing that you would find is that they are elongated in shape. They are not like other cells, they are very much elongated so that they can shape a duct. So these three major changes there would be appearing inside the cells, xylem cells, to perform their tasks. And another thing, these are fused from here. They are fused, meaning there is no end wall. This is the fourth feature. No end wall. End wall means that these cells are common. From inside, they are common. There is another cell that we would be talking about in detail at page number 42. Right now, I would tell you about it very shortly. You got it? The specialized xylem
Yeah.
cell.
Yes.
There is another type of cell which are basically called as photosynthetic cells. Photosynthetic cells of leaf, which are called as mesophyll cells. Mesophyll cells. And mesophyll cells are of two types. One are called as palisade mesophyll, and the other is called as spongy mesophyll. About the palisade mesophyll, they are referring here. They are referring here. This is the particular palisade mesophyll. So the palisade mesophyll, they are like this. Hold on. They look like this. So what do we initially say? We say that they are column shaped. Since they perform the photosynthesis, they have highest number of chloroplasts. Chloroplast. They have a very large vacuole, thick cell wall. So these are different features of palisade mesophyll, and they appear and work differently from other cells just because they are different. They are differentiated differently from other cells. So that is what the palisade mesophyll cell would look like. Got it?
Yes.
Then let's talk about the animal specialized cells. Now, about the animal specialized cells, animals. Remember that every generalized cell would be containing nucleus, mitochondria, other organelles. Every general cell would have all these structures. But specialized cells have different things. So first of all, red blood cells. What do you already know about these cells?
Their tissues.
Nope. We are saying they are red blood cells. How they could be tissues?
That they transport blood.
Hmm. Okay, let me tell you. The important thing about the red blood cell is that they are the smallest of the body cells. Smallest of the body cells. There is no cell larger than this. So, uh, second important feature is that they are not spherical. I told you last time that every cell is supposed to be in 3D shape. So the cells are mostly spherical, but red blood cells are not spherical. Instead, they are biconcave. Biconcave. What is the meaning of biconcave?
I don't
What is
know.
the meaning of concave? Okay.
I think it's something to do with the eyes, right?
Hmm. Uh,
The
Basically,
shape of the eyes,
concave is a
the
shape.
oval shape.
No, oval is like this. Oval is like this. When you make an oval, but there is a depression on one side, this is called as concave. Or maybe like this. Maybe like this. This maybe is the concave. Biconcave is there is a depression or a pit-like structure on both sides. You can also call it a dumbbell shaped. They are not spherical, but they are biconcave. Their nucleus is removed. Remember, nucleus is only removed when they are specialized. In a general cell, in a general or immature red blood cell, the
You said
nucleus is always present. Nucleus
you've written
Mhm.
nucleus is renamed. What does it say?
Removed. Removed.
Oh, okay.
Nucleus is removed.
Mm, okay.
In a general immature red blood cell, the nucleus and other organelles are present. But when we talk about a specific red blood cell, a specific red blood cell, all the all the organelles, especially the nucleus, mitochondria, they are removed. They are removed. But yes, cytoplasm is present. Another very important thing that you would find is that they are stuffed with an oxygen carrying protein. Oxygen carrying protein. What is the protein that carries the oxygen?
I'm not
Hemoglobin.
sure. Okay.
It is the protein called as hemoglobin. So overall, every red blood cell is red because of the protein, because of this protein only. So red blood cell basically are dumbbell or biconcave shaped, dumbbell or biconcave shaped, and they would look like this. Remember, the depression in the middle does not mean it's a nucleus. It's basically the thin area of the cytoplasm, just like this. And they are very much, another important feature of red blood cells is that they are very flexible, very much flexible. Now, they, can you tell me the reason why did we have to remove the nucleus?
Um, you moved the nucleus because it's mitochondrial.
Hmm? Nucleus is removed and mitochondria is also removed. Why do we need to remove them? Remember, the reasons of removing nucleus and mitochondria is uh, reducing cell size, uh, making more space for hemoglobin because it is important to capture as much oxygen as possible and reducing the distance between cytoplasm and external environment. Cytoplasm and external environment. So that is why we remove these organelles. That is the reason we remove these particular organelles.
Okay.
Okay, I would like you to just quickly read the data I wrote about the red blood cells. You have opened the Jamboard, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So just quickly read it.
Okay.
Okay, so this was about the red blood cell. Another very important thing that you can answer, you can understand about the red blood cell, that they need to be very small. They need to be smallest so that they can pass through capillaries. Through capillaries. That is really important. Otherwise, they would not be able to pass through the capillaries. Next is muscle cell. Muscle cells. Now, the muscle cells, first of all, need to be spindle shaped. Spindle or cylindrical shape. You know about the spindle or cylindrical? Spindle shaped?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
So
spindle
they are
is
either Mhm.
spindle is I think what do you say it like cylinder shape is just the cylinder, and then the spindle I'm not that sure.
This is the difference. Like a spindle is like this, just like our eye see is seen from outside. This is a spindle, and this is cylinder. So that is what our muscles can look like. Now, our muscle cells are very unique in that they have a very high protein content. High protein content inside cells. Inside cells. And they have multiple nuclei. Mostly, they have multiple nuclei, means more than one nucleus. You can find more than one nucleus in the muscle cells. And they have a large storage of calcium and some other changes, but uh, long Many protein fibers can shorten the cell when energy is available. Shorten mean they can contract the cell. Contract the cell. Got it?
Yeah.
Another important type of cell is the ciliated cells. Now, what are the ciliated cells basically? Okay, suppose that a cell looks like this. An animal cell looks like this. But a ciliated cell would be looking like this. Small thread-like structures, thread-like extensions, extensions. And basically, the ciliated cells, you can find them in trachea. In trachea. And very, they also have very high protein content, and large number of mitochondria. Why do they need large number of mitochondria? This is important to know that the large number of mitochondria basically helps cilia move. They help cilia move. Cilia has to move in trachea, and the mitochondria help to move them. So they are real important. They can push the mucus. Mucus is basically made in our trachea. So yes. Then there is another very important cell that is called a specialized cell, which is a nerve or neuron cell. Neuron. Now, a nerve or neuron cell is basically an elongated, thin, wire-like cell. It has extended cell membranes. Extended cell membranes like this. These are extended cell membrane. See, the terminal swollen region is called as the cell body. But remember that these structures that you see over here, these are basically called as extended cell membranes. These are not something unique. These are not something very different. These are just cell membrane extensions. And on the inside, there is cytoplasm that you can find. Like if the blue represents the cytoplasm, then you would find the cytoplasm all along the extensions. The cytoplasm is moving along the extension from the inside. So this is the cytoplasm on the inside. Okay, why these extensions? Now, important question is why these extensions? These extensions carry the nerve impulse, or you can say a current wave. They carry the nerve impulse or the current wave. The extensions that are very short, tree-like, are called as dendrites. You see, these are tree-like short extensions. These are called as dendrites. And elongated extensions are named as axons. So this is an axon. The current is received on dendrites, moved through the cell body and taken away by the axon. So the impulse moves this way and it is responsible for working in the nervous system. Our nervous system cannot work a single step without the involvement of the neurons. Without the involvement of the neurons. Got it?
Okay. Yes.
So this is a neuron cell that that is very different. See, now I would like you to take a bit of time and compare the general cell with these specific cell that we are talking about. You may get 5 minutes, but just read or compare the diagrams for general cell and specific cells. Then I'll ask you some questions.
Okay. I'm ready.
All right. So, what main difference did you find between a general and a specific cell? What was the main difference?
I think the overall difference is the differentiation, like how the specific cells have adapted to their functions. Like just for example, taking the red blood cells, which is a specific
Mm-hmm.
cell, and then the general cell. So
Hmm.
you have the shape that's different. So the red blood cell
Hmm.
is a bioncave, and the nucleus is
Biconcave.
biconcave, and the nucleus has
Hmm.
been removed and the mitochondria has been removed. So like in the
Hmm.
general cell, you still have the nucleus and you still have the mitochondria, but because the red
Yes.
blood cell is adapted, so it doesn't have those organelles. And then, for
Hmm.
example, the neuron cell is like
Yes.
elongated and it's like a wire compared to the general cell, and
Hmm.
um, it has like an axon, and the general cell doesn't have an axon. And physical adaptations, there are different physical adaptations like the dendrites, um,
Dendrites.
dendrites, yeah, dendrites,
Hmm.
and um, so, for
Axon.
example, in the muscle cell as well, the muscle
Hmm.
cell is like a spindle shaped and it has multiple nuclei. So, the general cell just has one, and the muscle cell has been adapted and has multiple nuclei.
So what basic difference did you find in shape, by the way?
That the general cell, at least the plant cell, is like a kind of like a rectangle shape, and then the muscle cell is like
Hmm.
the spindle shape, and the red blood cell is the biconcave shape.
Hmm. And like you can easily see that all the cells either are losing the organelles or they may be gaining some organelles so that you can easily perform they can easily perform their functions. So actually every cell is required to change its shape um, if the cell is going to perform its functions properly. The cell has to change in structure so that it has sufficient facilities, sufficient organelles, proper shape to perform a particular task. That is the overall understanding we can have when we differentiate between the specific and general cells.
Okay.
Differentiate between the specific and general cells. Okay, two more types of cells are there, but these cells can be discussed much later because they are going to be very unique cells of our body. Now, the thing is, if we just roll back the slides and see different kinds of cells, one thing is obvious. One thing is obvious, and that is these cells, none of these cells can work alone.
Yeah.
Like if these cells have to perform a task, they have to arrange themselves in a unique and specific way. Suppose that let's talk about duct. Let's talk about a duct, or even the xylem. Maybe let's talk about xylem. Now, when you saw the xylem, you said that xylem cells are arranged. The xylem cells are arranged above each other to make a duct, isn't it?
Yes.
It means that a single xylem cell would be unable to perform that complete task. The same thing I'm trying to mention over here, that actually the xylem cells or any other cell can never perform their task when they are separated from others. Suppose there is a duct, this is a blood vessel of human body. Now this blood vessel is aligned by basically multiple cells like this. It is basically aligned by the multiple cells like this. And not only from the front, here there are also cells arranged over here that would be supporting this particular duct. They would be supporting this particular duct. So remember that there is not a single organ or not a single part of your body that is made by only one cell. No, 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 no. Every part of your body is made by thousands of cells, millions of cells. So that is what we need to understand about the group working of cells. The cells and the group working of cells has a principle. First of all, the cells would be working in the cells would be working in the groups. The cells would be working in the groups, and they all have to be similar cells. Number one thing. So the rule number one of the group working of similar cells. Number two, they would be trying to achieve the similar task, trying to fulfill the same task. Just like, what do the xylem cells want to achieve? To conduct the water, is it?
Yeah, they want the water to go through, right? Like a pipe.
No, no, no. The main goal of xylem cells is to conduct the water anti-gravity.
Yeah.
So all the cells are arranged in a way in which uh, they are basically using each other's capability to perform a certain task. This type of group working is called as this type of group this type of group where all the cells arranged in a particular way. Remember, the arrangement is never necessarily same. The arrangement of cells arrangement of cells could be different could be different. Suppose this is a blood vessel. This is a blood vessel I talked about. Now all the cells are arranged in this way. This is a muscle. This is a muscle. And all the suppose that these lines that I'm drawing, this is a one cell. Every line is one cell. Now see, the arrangement of cell is totally different for muscles. The arrangement of cells is totally different for muscles. Similarly, the arrangement of cells for the skin is different. So, depending upon their function, their arrangement would also change. Their arrangement would also change. That is why when we say that this arrangement of cell or group of cell, this group is named as tissues, which means made up of multiple similar cells. Made up of multiple similar cells, and they can just arrange themselves up to perform tasks. So let's see what tissues we can find. One kind of tissue that you would find over here is epithelium. Okay, let me give you an idea about the animal and plant tissues. First, I will give you the general idea, then we'll go to the book. Okay, in general animal kingdom, in general animal groups, you can find the following four types of groups. All the animals, in all the animals, you can find four types of tissues. Number one is called as muscle tissues, muscular tissues. What does it mean? The muscle cells combining to perform their task. And what is the task of muscle cells? Remember that wherever the movement is required, the muscle tissue must be present. Like if I am saying that I'm blinking my eyes, every blink would require hundreds of muscles. So first and foremost important tissue that you would find in the animals is the muscular tissue. Basically, you can say that the muscular tissue is composed of many muscle cells. The second type of tissue that you would find in the animal kingdom or animal group is the nervous tissue or neurons or nerves, in which you can say the signal transfer is the basic task. Signal is transferred. Nervous tissue mean that you would find many neurons. You would find many neurons. When there is nervous tissue, you would find many neurons in it. Like bundles of neurons are joined to perform bundles of neurons are joined to perform signal transfer. Getting it? Every
Yeah.
time the word tissue comes, always keep in your mind, every time the word tissue comes, it means multiple cells. It means multiple cells. So basically, nervous tissue is nervous tissue means multiple cells or maybe multiple neurons. The next tissue you would find is the connective tissue. Connective tissue. Connective tissue is a type of tissue which connects different parts of the body. Suppose the first connective tissue is blood. Okay, before going any further, let me tell you what is something that you can call a tissue. Number one demand of a tissue is it should have multiple cells. And second demand of a tissue is that it should have a large content of water. A large content of water. So see, connective tissue or any kind of tissue would only be called as tissue if it has these two things: multiple cells and large content of water. So you can see in connective tissue, blood is a type of connective tissue. Can we say that blood connects different parts of the body?
Transfers things to different parts of the body, but I
But it
don't
means
think
it
it
just connect.
doesn't. It doesn't. Yeah.
Connection. Connection means that suppose when you eat food, your stomach digests, your intestine digest, and give it to liver. But how would they give it to liver? With the help of blood. The liver has glucose. It provides the brain with the glucose.
Yeah.
How? Blood.
So it's
So it
connected, but
means,
I think it's physically
hmm,
connected. It it connects the body, but not physically.
yes, 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 that's fine. That's right. Next is the bone, bone and cartilage. They physically connect. Another type of
But
connective tissue is the fat tissue.
yeah,
Very important, very important tissue. And you can say that they are responsible for layering up different kinds of organs. And even you can easily imagine that all your organs are basically glued by the fats. They are glued to each other with the help of the fats. So the fat tissue is there. Okay, this was the third type. The fourth type of tissue is epithelial. Epithelial. Now, what is this epithelial? All right, now remember this word is going to come multiple times in our syllabus and in our understanding. Epithelial means covering something from inside or outside. Like you are covering, you may have seen many things, like they are wrapped in a plastic sheet. They are wrapped in a plastic sheet, so it means you are covering it. And there are many
Yeah.
things in which you wrap a thing in a plastic sheet, then you rewrap it inside that plastic wrapping. So suppose that epithelial, okay, epithelial is a word that would always come when you talk about layering or covering. Layering or covering any organ. Suppose if I say the, yes, there is an epithelial called as ciliated epithelium. Ciliated epithelium means that it is an outer layer that contains cilia. Outer layer containing cilia. Then alveolar epithelium. Alveolar. You know about the alveolar?
Yes.
Alveolar epithelium is the innermost, or you can simply say the layer of cells exposed to air. The layer of cells exposed to air. That is called as alveolar epithelium. So see, epithelium is always a layer of cell or covering of cell around something. Then let me tell you, epithelium would can be epithelium can come somewhere else. Let me tell you where. Suppose this is a blood vessel. This is a blood vessel, and on the inside of the blood vessel there is a layer of cell. This is a layer of cell. Now, see, on the outer side, suppose you have protein covering, and on the inside you have cell covering. Now, you know what would you say? You would now say it endothelium. Still, the uh, still the concept is same, but here you would say it is endothelium. It's a layer of cells present inside. So endothelium. So you would find this word repeated regularly in different organs. So that is why always remember that this epithelium and endothelium, this would always come whenever we are talking about the layer of cells, either on the outside of something or inside of something. Clear?
Yeah.
But you must keep one thing in your mind that the tissues, all the tissues that I just told you, they have one thing in common, that they have multiple cells arranged they have multiple cells arranged for the functions. They have multiple cells arranged for the functions. Like one cell cannot perform a task. They have multiple cells. When the multiple cells combine, it would become a tissue. Any problem?
No.
Okay, moving ahead towards the plant tissues. Now, some of the plant tissues that you would be studying very frequently, the principle is same, multiple cells would combine here, but uh, one of the plant tissue is the epidermis. The principle still is same. It this word you would find when a layer of cells covering an organ. A layer of cells covering an organ. But this word you would find in plants. Suppose you would, after a few chapters, you would find a word root epidermis, or stem epidermis, or leaf epidermis. So these words would be covering this kind of concept, a layer of cells can covering an organ. Second, second is the vascular tissue. Vascular tissue, it is also known as transport tissue. The word vascular means transport. The word vascular literally means transport. And this tissue is of two types. One vascular tissue is called as xylem tissue, and the other vascular tissue is called as phloem tissue. These are the tissues that arrange, in which cells arrange to perform the transportation task. Understood?
Yeah.
Another very important tissue is the mesophyll tissue. And I might have already told you that mesophyll tissue is actually a combination. Many cells performing the photosynthesis would make a mesophyll tissue. Two types of are left. One is strengthening tissue. Strengthening means that it would strengthen the plants. And the other one, parenchyma. Parenchyma tissue, it is overall, you can say, let me tell you, parenchyma. This is a tissue that performs the storage or other functions. So overall, you can conclude that the plants also possess many tissues. And remember that I can provide you a series of understanding. Like you say, atoms combine to make molecule. Is it true?
Yes.
The molecules combine to make organelles.
Yeah.
The organelles work together to make cells. The cells work together to make the tissues. So it means that it is basically a series of organization levels. These are organization levels of the body.
So after tissues, it would be organs and then organ systems.
Organ. Yes. Now you are combining, you are building up many atoms, arranged molecules, many molecules, arranged organelles, many organelles arranged and working together, cell, many cells arranged and working together, tissues. Similarly, The next step that is going to be that many tissues arranged working together to achieve the similar task is called as an organ. It is called as an organ. Suppose, suppose that uh, stomach. In stomach, you would find epithelial tissue, you would find nervous tissue, you would find muscular tissue, and you would also find connective tissue. They all are helping each other in achieving the purpose of digestion. So, what that would make the stomach, if you combine all the tissues, so what that would make the stomach,
It would make it an organ, right?
yes, it would make it an organ because all the tissues are combined and they all are working together. So that is what the purpose of an organ and how the tissues are combined. Got it?
Yes.
All right then. Any problem?
No.